Hello and welcome everyone to the 2024 Annual General Meeting for the Global Data Visualization Society. I'm so excited to have so many of our board members joining us today, as well as some of our team members to share updates from 2024 with you all. I'm Amanda McCulloch, the current and outgoing Executive Director for the Data Viz Society, and you'll see I'm surrounded by a number of our other different board members who will be sharing who they are and what they do as we go ahead and walk through some of our updates for you today. We only have an hour today to go ahead and connect, and so we want to make sure that we're walking through some of the big picture pieces of what an AGM is and allowing you to see some behind the scenes of what's been happening within the Data Visualization Society. The Data Visualization Society was founded 6 years ago as a place to be the professional association for data viz. We're run by a board of 12 different directors and supported by an advisory council that includes a mix of industry experts as well as various different former board members who continue to support and serve our organization. You can see all of the different board members and advisors who are named here on these slides. It's been a wonderful, wonderful year for us as a team, being able to collaborate as a group of board members, advisors, and especially with our volunteers and our community members throughout the course of 2024. As we go ahead and we think about where DataViz is today, we couldn't be where we are without the team members that also support the work that we do, including the Nightingale team, including Julie, William, Jason, and Teo, our IIB Awards Manager, Lisa, our amazing communications manager, Zane, our assistant, Brittany, and Katarina, who supports the mentorship program that I know has been a huge benefit to many of the members of our organization. As we think about the work that we do as an organization, all of that work would not be possible without the volunteer support from our board and many volunteers and team members. And we estimated with some rough back of the napkin calculations that the board alone has donated more than 5,000 hours in 2024, which is a huge amount of volunteer time that goes into making the Data Viz Society possible. So I want to give a quick round of applause to all my fellow board members who are here who make this possible and make all the work that we do possible. So huge thank you to everyone who is joining us today to share some of the updates on what we've been up to. As we go ahead and we dive into the day today, we want to level set first with what an annual general meeting is, or an AGM, also known as an annual meeting. The annual general meeting was set up in our bylaws as a place and space each year for our membership to come together, either as part of the live meeting or to go ahead and watch the meeting asynchronously if needed due to time zones or other constraints, and to hear updates on what is happening within the organization. You, as our members, are our equivalent of shareholders. You are the people who have a stake in our organization, and DVS Plus members, as our dues-paying members, also have the ability to vote on leadership decisions like the board membership and the slate, as well as voting on things like bylaws amendments. We really are grateful to have anyone who's joining us live today or watching this replay, as we know that you're invested in what the Data Viz Society is doing this year and going forward. As we look at what your role is at the annual general meeting, at our meeting, we're convening members for three key purposes. First, to hear updates on activities of the DVS over the past year, including a financial update on the revenue, expenses, and where money is going within the organization. Second, to review priorities for the coming year, including reflecting on some of the challenges and how we may address them looking forward. And to talk about the slate and introduce the slate of candidates who are being proposed to join the board in the available seats. Each year, we have 6 open seats on the board as our board turns over half of the board every 2 years, ensuring there's always continuity continuing to run the organization. And Rochelle, as our nominations committee chair and knowledge director, will continue to go ahead and say more about the slating process and about nominations when we get to that part. If you want to, you're welcome to hop on Slack and go ahead and look at the DVS AGM channel to ask questions. We will try to reserve some time for questions at the end. For those of you who are joining us live, you can see that we've got an agenda here with some updates, the finance update, the slate, and closing remarks. And it's great to see folks who are joining us from many different places. I see folks joining us from Italy, from Uruguay, from Sao Paulo, from Arizona, and even from Nigeria. And it's really wonderful to see folks who are part of our global community joining us from around the world. As we go ahead and dive into the agenda today, I'm excited to be able to share a few updates first and then hand over the reins to some of our other team members. And for the sake of them not having to sit in silence in the corner, I'll pop them off of our screen share and pop them back up onto our virtual stage as we walk through the meeting today. So as we go ahead and we walk through who DVS is, if you're not familiar, which might be a surprise if you're joining us for this annual meeting, If you're not familiar, we're the Professional Association for Data Visualization. We're an organization that aims to bring people together across tech stacks, tools, and other spaces. And we're excited to have you here, whether you're a data visualization expert, an enthusiast, or someone just dabbling and curious about the field. Right now, we're looking forward to celebrating 6 years of DVS in 2025. This past year, 2024, marked our 5th year, and we're excited to keep growing as an organization. And you'll hear more throughout the meeting today about why we think that now is the time when DVS is more relevant than ever before. Our community has grown over those many years, growing from an organization that didn't exist in January of 2019 to having over 30,000 members across over 160 countries around the world. Our membership has reported in different forums that they speak over 48 different languages, and our social communities have grown as well, including seeing the growth of our Blue Sky community. If you're not following us on Blue Sky already, we encourage you to do so and be part of the DataViz conversations there, where we've seen people starting to take up some of the mantle that was shifted as some of the social world was upended by different changes over the last couple of years. As we think about who we are as an organization, we always go back to 3 key pillars and principles that are some of our core goals and reason for being. First, to nurture and build a cross-functional, tool-agnostic community for sharing ideas, learning, and best practices for data visualization design. Second, to amplify and showcase brilliance in data visualization design through conferences, writing, and awards. And third, to advance and raise awareness about the practice of data visualization, collaborating with leaders to set professional standards and build a more inclusive field. Many of us who helped to co-found the Data Visualization Society and were part of the original board were all motivated by the aim that we wanted to create more clear, understandable paths into doing this great work and being part of this field than we might have had as we were trying to make our way in our early days of our own career. I'm going to go ahead and bring up 2 of our directors, Dani and Simran, to do an update on how we've been nurturing our community over the course of the past year. And you'll see how we continue to path through these 3 different priority areas as we walk through our updates today, rather than focusing on departments and instead focusing on these cross-functional goals that we have as an organization. Simran, Dani, I welcome you to introduce yourselves and go ahead and share about the ways we've been nurturing the DataViz community over the course of the past year.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simran, and I'm the interim early career director, stepping in as Zane, our amazing programs director, took that department. It's been really exciting to be part of the early career committee, a 20-person team, and I'll let our education director introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dani Wu. I'm the education director. I'm also a full-time faculty at Queens College in the design department. Been on the board for the past year, and it's been an amazing experience. And I'm very excited to continue on for another year.
So in 2024, we had 32 free and open early career events with 2,033 registrations. And some of these events included our Readers Club, our tea time small group discussions, Q&As with experts and co-working sessions, all really designed to cultivate community and build engagement among early career practitioners. We also had an engagement team who worked on building community in the Connect Early Career channel in the DVS Slack, with 155 comments in our Monday and Wednesday discussion questions from September to December. In the next slide, our membership team has also really been working on cultivating spaces that connect practitioners by locations and interests. So we had 21 local affiliate groups in 11 countries, along with 7 topical interest groups with topics ranging from color to visualizations for kids and philanthropy. And really grateful to our community manager, Sophie Sparks, for helping build this out. Next slide, thank you. In 2024, we ran 3 cohorts of our mentorship program, bringing the total number to 7. And in 2024, we had 264 mentor-mentee pairs being able to match 100% of every mentor and mentee who signed up. And a really exciting mark of this success was having 135 of these mentors participating more than once in a cohort, really demonstrating the value that the program brought to them. And we've also had a really exciting number of having 23 mentees return as mentors, and really showing that pipeline of developing early career practitioners into more experienced. Next slide, please. And one thing that I've noticed about DVS in this past year is just the incredible number of volunteers that we've had. This year we've had over 90 volunteers from across the IIB Awards to the Early Career Committee to the Outlier Conference. And it's just really exciting to just see all the incredible people who have been wanting to contribute back to the data viz community. Next slide, please.
So we've also conducted an audit of all the rich content that has been created over the last 6 years, and have come to the realization that a lot of this content isn't easily discoverable. So one of the projects that we will be working on in 2025 is redesigning and redeveloping a new DVS website that organizes all these videos and tutorials and other resources that make them more searchable and accessible to our membership. Now I think we can move on to the Celebrate section. So we can go to the next slide.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for your updates, Dani and Simran. And Dani, I want to give you a shout out that we're very grateful that you're willing to take on this project of working on redesigning the website, as it really connects to how we share our resources, educational and otherwise, with our broader community.
Very excited.
All right, now I'm going to go ahead and welcome to the stage Zane, who is our programs director, and Jen Roscoe, who is our events director. Welcome, Zane and Jen, to talk about how we're celebrating the field of data visualization this year.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zane Wolf. I first joined the board this past year as the midterm appointment for the early career director position. And then in September, I transitioned into the programs director position.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Roscoe, longtime DVS member, newly minted events director. It's been really wonderful meeting everyone and getting started, basically helping to plan the 2025 events, and looking forward to working with everyone in the future and building out a great set of programming for you all.
So I'd like to get started by first celebrating Outlier 2024, which I think was a smashing success. I might be biased because I helped run it, but it took place in Chicago this past June. We had 452 participants, 35 speakers, 28 volunteers, 3 keynotes, and it cost just shy of $110,000 to operate, which was about what last year, 2023, cost as well. We had in-person workshops, physical data visualizations that attendees contributed to, incredible speakers, panelists, and attendees from all over the field of data visualization in the world. Outlier 2024 was made possible by our incredible sponsors, Northwestern University and Visa. We also partnered with IEEE Viz 2024 to cross-promote and attend each other's visualization conferences for the first time. I'd also like to celebrate a successful collaboration with InfoGrade, where we orchestrated Future Friday workshops throughout 2024. There were 6 sessions with 376 registrants, including 1 in-person workshop at Outlier with 60 live participants, 39 final prototypes and projects submitted throughout the sessions, and then 5 luminaries who contributed their time and their expertise to these amazing workshops. We're excited to continue partnering with InfoGreat to host Future Fridays in 2025. And then my last slide, the 2024 IIB Awards are currently underway. The big change this year is aligning the submission window with the calendar year. So as a result, the awards ceremony now coincides with our Outlier 2025 conference and will take place on Thursday, June 12th. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jen to tell you more about Outlier.
Thanks, Dane. It's a great segue. So the 2025 Outlier Conference is going to be June 10th through 12th. Please mark your calendars and save the date. It's going to be offered virtually as well as in person at the University of Miami Newman Alumni Center. And we are really looking forward to celebrating our theme this year, which is reimagining. And we're excited to kick off our planning and continuing to search for our conference director. So check out the work with us if you're interested in joining the committee, as well as our planning, and our director position is available as well. So.
Well, and I see now, I think, Jennifer, I think we've got the wrong dates on here, and I think I should probably take responsibility for that. The conference is Wednesday through Friday, June 11th through the 13th. So, and all the things for us to go ahead and pop on there as we were repopulating this slide set. But we do hope that you'll all join us from June 11th to the 13th at University of Miami, including for the Information is Beautiful award ceremony that we mentioned is happening on Thursday. Any other updates from the two of you about what's happening in the world of celebrating the data visualization community? No? Jumping ahead on slides. Jen, Dane, thank you so much to both of you for your time. Jen, especially thank you for stepping up into this new role and being part of our team. And an additional thanks to Emily Kuhn, who is the outgoing events director who supported and ran Outlier 2024, along with Julia Hennelly, who was the Outlier conference director. And Zane, thank you for stepping up into this program's role. Zane was our early career director who was doing an amazing job and then stepped up into this role to support our community more broadly. So huge thanks to you both for all of the time and support that you're putting into making this a wonderful year. Now, last, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our last speakers for our Celebrate, Nurture, and Advance sections to share a bit more about what's happening in the world of Nightingale and other exciting spaces where we're advancing our work. I see we've got a few of our different Nightingale contributors here online, as well as Pierre, our partnerships director. Pierre, I'm going to hand it over to you to do introductions and then to pass it along to the Nightingale team to talk about how DVS is working to advance the industry.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And we're here to talk about the advanced portion, which of course is the third tenet of the DVS mission. Really here to raise the awareness about the practice of data viz, set the standards, and guide the direction of the community in general. I'm here with colleagues Theo and Will, who will present themselves in a later part of this section when we talk about Nightingale. So I can't really see the slides. I'm not sure if we can go to the next slide. There we go. Really, if we think a bit more broadly, the point of this general section is a bit forward-looking, right? So there are some external trends on the left side, as well as some internal trends from the state of the industry report that we run every year that gives us some really interesting data that we can use to position some of our programs and events and different services. If you look on the left side, there's really an underlying theme of what's going on out there. And a lot of these things are pretty generic, like what does AI mean for data democratization, right? But in general, what this means is that people's expectations with regards to communicating data are evolving and changing in a positive way, in the sense that there's more of a general awareness about the importance of data and data viz and how to communicate data. It's gone a bit more mainstream. Certainly in my day-to-day work, people are realizing that it's important to reach a shared understanding of how you do things. And as data becomes more and more mainstream, it's important for communities of practice like ours to set the tone about how to do things in the best way. Because if you look on the right of the screen, there's really two underlying themes that come across from the data that we're seeing on the screen there. One is, a diversity and inclusion aspect to the different issues in data viz as our community sees it. And the second is more educational in terms of like, where do I find formal education? What path should I choose to get into data viz and build a career around it? And you see a lot of the answers that came out of that, are pretty coming out from the report. So with those two things together, there you go. You have a link to the report on the bottom of the screen now. If you're interested, go read it. It's a very detailed, excellent view of how our community views data viz in general. And it also informs us in how to position the different things that we do as a board. So if you go to the next slide, what does this mean looking forward? Yes, there's, if anything, more excitement and growth for DVS because of the things that I just mentioned on the prior slide. We are very proud of what we've built. What we really need to do in the next few years is transition to a labor of love to setting up the conditions for the sustainability and growth as an organization as we get more and more popular and the demands on our time increase. In 2025, we're going to continue to provide the program services and the community engagement, but more from an aspect of broadening the scope and accessibility of data viz in general across the programs that we run, the events that you're going to see, and the partnerships that we're going to build. As a community of practice, we also want to close the gap between knowledge transfer of what's happening in the academic world and the practice communities, right? So that speaks to the learning aspect that we saw on the slide before. Where do we even start as a community to help people build their careers in data viz? It's important as a community of practice to emphasize that. And last and definitely not least, none of this would be possible without the support of the volunteers, volunteer members who put in countless hours, the paid memberships, and our partners. So if you haven't joined as a paid member yet, I do highly encourage you to go and do that. Every dollar helps us run these programs, run these different events and different services, and just serve the community in general. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Teo and Will, who are going to run through Nightingale.
Yeah, I can get us started. Hi, everyone. My name is Will Carreri. I've been part of DVS for the past 3 years, and I've been the managing editor of Nightingale for the past year. I'm going to talk a little bit about Nightingale Digital before I hand it over to Teo to talk about print. But 2024 was a pretty big and successful year for Nightingale Digital. We published 141 new articles equating to 222,000 visitors and 347,000 page views. Beyond just that, we also hit a few milestones, including our
Will, I think maybe it's just me, but I think Will froze.
Yeah, he froze for me
since
as
the
well.
beginning of Nightingale when we first started on. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. I don't know where I left off, but our 500 article was also published this past year since we first started on Medium and moved over to WordPress. But beyond that, we also started interactive articles, thanks in part to our interactives editor, Alejandra, who has helped us put on some amazing collaborations with entities like the University of Washington, which is featured here. Highly encourage you all to check out our interactive pieces. And of course, I want to give a shout out to Claire Harvey, Samantha Nicholas, and Mackenzie Mercer, all of whom had some of the most popular articles published in this past year. And the three really show a wide breadth of content that we're featuring, including reviews and also custom data visualizations as well. I will now pass it over to Teo to talk about print.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Teo Popescu. I'm the content editor at Nightingale. Outside of Nightingale, I'm the creative manager and graphics editor at NPR Seattle, and I also teach data viz at Berkeley and UW, University of Washington, I should say, not the other UW. Anyway, so at Nightingale this past year, I came on board along with Will, so it's year one for me of being on the editorial board. And we got out issue 5 on Nature, which had some really big, interesting stats for us. For starters, we had a rise in subscriptions of folks who actually subscribed because of the magazine, as well as a huge bump in first-time buyers. Looking back at some of the kind of past issues of Nightingale, I feel like this might be our biggest rise of first-time buyers since the magazine started, which shows that there's a really big enthusiasm for kind of that more permanent piece, right? We all live and breathe the digital world, and I think there's something that's very kind of high end about having a print piece at home that you can put on your coffee table that serves as kind of a reference point. So it's interesting to see that the print issue is such a kind of great bringer in of new folks. We also did a bit of an informal poll during our kickoff for our next issue, which is all about time, which we're currently still getting pitches for. And some folks are waiting on edits for their pitches, which have been incredible. During that brainstorm, we did a little bit of an informal poll of what folks would want to see out of Nightingale print moving forward, and a little bit of like how they communicate with us. And one of the things that came out of that was that the main communication channel for most of our kind of super users in the Nightingale space, the folks who are putting down, funding and support for print and also as subscribers for DVS, membership for DVS, is that they are relying more on email newsletters than the Slack channels currently. So that was a shift that I've been working on kind of accommodating for our new members and for returning members by really refreshing the Gale newsletter, which is the Nightingale newsletter, and trying to kind of build it into more of a space for conversation as well as information about what's going on in the DataViz world. So that is going to see significant change and growth this year. That's kind of a focus point outside of print itself. In terms of print, what's next? So one of the things that we've been talking internally, and some folks on this call might be aware of it if they've been in some of these more brainstorming meetings with us, is that there's clearly a joy and a enthusiasm for the print magazine. We sell over 1,000 copies every single time. We continue to get new people in the door with the magazine, but shipping to 30 plus countries, we currently ship to over 30 countries, is a labor of love and a logistical challenge. So we've been looking behind the scenes for the next issue. How do we get it to a point where it is both affordable and reliably ships, and where we can maintain that with the staff that we have, right? Make it scalable. So anyway, that is something that we're looking to do, and we're trying to kind of figure out how we want to do that in terms of folks who are more into practice work versus theory. And I will hand it back.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for the updates, and Nightingale team, thank you so much for all the work that you do to make Nightingale possible. Pierre, I want to give you a quick shout out too, that the work you've been doing this year with our different partners, working on building partnerships where our members have access to great learning and teaching opportunities, and working with those industry leaders has really been a great foray into that collaboration space for us. So thank you for all of your hard work this year. We'll bring everyone back to the stage at the end for a wrap up, but I'll go ahead and remove you all from the stage now. All right. Unfortunately, Kalp, our operations director, who's been just a wonderful addition to our team this year, is not able to join us due to a work conflict today. So I'm going to run through the updates on our financial updates to give you a quick snapshot of our financial state of DVS. As a note, the numbers that we have included here are specifically for January through November. We're still waiting for our year-end close numbers with our partners at our bookkeeping firm who help support keeping all of those things in line. When we look at our operations update, I think it's important we start with who is supporting and working on making DVS run. That includes our board of directors, as well as paid team members, each of whom are paid a stipend for part-time contributions to the organization. We also have contributors who are paid, including our Nightingale contributors and our outlier speakers, in part because we do really value making sure that we're compensating people for their time, expertise, and knowledge. As we think about what that looks like big picture, though, that does mean that we are running without a single full-time staff member. And so as we walk through some of the numbers for this year and break them down, consider the fact that if we were to hire any full-time staff member with benefits in the US, we would start to quickly escalate what that budget looks like. Overall, so far for January through November, our year-to-date revenue was around $334,000, with expenses totaling around $317,000. Notably, there are some major expense areas, including some final payments for Nightingale print issue number 5 that are going out in December, which will likely leave us at around a net zero 2024. That means that we functionally are likely to have not brought in any significant profit to reinvest in the organization, but we also haven't been spending down our reserves in ways in which that would be detrimental to the organization. A big part of being on the board is making sure we're acting in the fiduciary interest of the organization and building a DVS that continues to be able to sustain and scale itself over time. When we look at how those numbers break down, revenue by category, 36% of our revenue comes from DVS Plus members. The reason that that membership revenue is so important is because it is the revenue that supports and sustains all of the activities, sessions, tea times, all the things that help make DVS run that are outside of things where you are buying a service like Nightingale Print or buying a ticket to Outlier. Our next two big areas for revenue are event ticket sales. Those are Outlier ticket sales primarily, and print journal sales. Notably, if you look at event ticket sales and print journal sales, basically all of the revenue that comes in for those events goes back to paying for the event itself. You saw the numbers that the overall expenses for Outlier, for example, were around $108,000 to run. We brought in $110,000 in ticket sales and had minimal additional sponsorship support. And so as we look at what those numbers look like, membership revenue is the key thing that allows us to continue to make many of our programs, including things like the Nightingale Digital Magazine, completely free and open, not just to DVS Plus members, but to our larger membership base and oftentimes to the public. When we break down our expenses by category, I've included a pretty transparent, very P&L-y kind of snapshot here on the right-hand side that include the various expenses broken down by different categories. You can see just how those big numbers break down. It's easy to go ahead and see, I think, a big number like over $300,000, but for an organization of our size that runs an annual conference, runs a print magazine, and runs the kind of programming that we actually have a remarkably small budget, in part because of the amount of volunteer support and labor that we have. 52% of our expenses are for team and contributor time. That includes both professional services and the stipends and honoraria that go towards our speakers and contributors. An additional 13% goes to shipping, freight, and delivery. That's for getting things to and from Nightingale print issues going out to those many different countries that Teo mentioned, and 11% going to event space and catering. That's for conferences and events. The other expenses that we have are often related to things like software and cloud-based expenses. Oftentimes people say to me, well, you run a nonprofit. You don't really need money, right? But even with all of the discounts that we can avail ourselves of as a nonprofit organization, there are still costs and expenses that go towards things like maintaining our email list in a secure environment where we can abide by our various different privacy policies, for example, or finding ways to use software technology or things like Buffer to simplify and make it easier for us to organize and post on social media. So as you go ahead and you think about the many different ways in which we do our work and we go ahead and support DVS's activities, one of our commitments to you as we continue to move forward, and that I know is a priority for CALP, is to find ways to go ahead and be more transparent and give more of these routine updates so that when we're looking for people to join as DVS Plus members, or we're looking for institutional partnerships or sponsorships, you have greater transparency around where that money is going. As we think about major cost centers for that period of the year, there were 3 that I want to call attention to in different ways. One is the Outlier conference, the $108,000 it cost us to run that. That's about 1/3 of that overall budget or expenses for the year. We were able to reduce our venue and AV costs by more than 80% compared to what we paid in Porto, in part because of our host institution partnership with Northwestern. And we're consistently looking for ways to make our different expenses go down so that we can make sure the tickets to go to events like Outlier remain affordable and accessible, and that we can continue to do things like host a hybrid event. Second, Nightingale, looking at what those look like. In case you're ever wondering why Nightingale costs $40 an issue, the estimated cost per issue to design and print and do the layout and everything on that high quality paper is around $43,000. And so our Nightingale editors are great at supporting that, but the Nightingale print issue right now does reflect that sticker price of a premium product. And we know we've heard from folks saying, why is it so expensive? But it's expensive because of the time and labor that goes in there. Then we go ahead and we can look at the third big area, which is program support, with $82,000 to date paid to our part-time team members, including people like our communications director, our communications manager, outlier director, and others. When we go ahead and we start to think about what this all means for us as an organization, I want to kind of point you to four key things before I wrap up and hand it over for some continued reflections from the team and into our nominations work. DVS Plus memberships are 36% of our revenue, and like I said, an important part. Thank you very much in terms of what that looks like. The 2025 goal we have is to increase grow the share of DVS Plus members to 15%. DVS is also scaled without a single full-time team member and with a big reliance on volunteer support, including bringing on at least one full-time person. Sponsorships remain low in 2024, but they're going to be critical to creating revenue and to sustain and scale DVS, with a goal to double our sponsorships and seek out grant opportunities. And last, Outlier is a big key moment for the community and for generating revenue for the organization to ensure other programs remain low or no cost. This is part of why we expanded Outlier to include IIB. As we go ahead and we dive into our wrap up, before we move over to nominations, I want to hand the floor over to Elijah, who's one of our DVS co-founders, as well as being one of our current board members, as someone who is going ahead and actually leading our publications work now. So Elijah, I want to hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Amanda, for all the incredible work you've done as an executive director. The number one thing for us to remember as members and contributors to DVS is that when it was founded, the data visualization landscape was really quite different than it is today. Some approaches have matured and changed, just like they always do, but also more fundamentally, COVID and political radicalization, climate change tipping points, and the rise of generative AI have all increased the prominence, importance, and reach of data visualization. We've seen that here at DVS, conversations between members and fostered by our publications, our events, internal on the Slack or hosted on videos, have engaged with that and highlighted the role of data visualization and the importance of our engagement with its growing impact. We've discussed and described ways to improve charts for different audiences and how charts have been used to educate, but also to mislead. I don't think there's a newsroom or a design school in the world that has the level of discussions we've had about data visualization as part of DVS. There is, in fact, so much of this content that, as you've heard earlier, we need to invest in analyzing and summarizing and exposing it to our membership and also to the general public. But $300,000 a year sounds like a big budget maybe for an individual, but this is a small organization that was founded to support data visualization creators who were primarily working in industry and journalism and freelance projects. We weren't necessarily built to deal with how data visualization has more than gone mainstream as part of the discourse. It's actually become the discourse. Climate change is communicated by folks like Zach Labe to tens of thousands of followers via data visualization. Climate change deniers make their counterclaims via data visualization. It's the same with all these topics that I listed earlier, and I think we can all guess it's going to increase in the future. So even as an organization that follows the original remit of DVS, which is to say just a professional organization supporting data visualization creators, we struggle with limited funding and decentralized resources and volunteer-driven work. We've done so much with so little for years now, and I'm so proud of DVS for that. But there's so much more we need to do for data visualization readers, for your audiences who use now data visualization every day for the most important topics of their life. To address this, we need DVS to define solutions, and the only way that we can do that is with resources. We need your support because, frankly, I think the world needs our support. So challenges, absolutely, but also incredible opportunities, I think, for the future of DVS, where in our 10th anniversary, we could point to real systematic and meaningful changes for society and culture that is every day using data visualization more for key meaning-making events.
Thank you, Elijah. Appreciate all of your thoughts there, and on you're taking some time to reflect on kind of where we are right now in the industry. As we go ahead and we move through to the last 20 minutes of our AGM, I want to go ahead and welcome now Rochelle to the stage. Rochelle very kindly stepped up to go ahead and lead our nominations committee this year. Rochelle can give a bit more of a background introduction, and I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to all the work she's done in her knowledge director role over the course of 2 years. She's really become someone who I've come to rely on a lot when I've got questions, and who always steps up and raises her hand whenever I ask for help and support. So on the most personal level, thank you, Rochelle, for all of the ways in which you've supported DVS over the course of the past 2 years in your term. Closing out with this great nominations committee and the fantastic new board members we're putting forward to join the team.
Thank you, Amanda. And I just want to say thank you to you as well. I know that you're currently on your way out as executive director, and this organization would not be what it is without your leadership and your guidance. So really appreciate everything that you've put into it, and know that it is going to continue to pay off for years and years and years to come. So thank you.
That's always been the hope, right?
Exactly. So with that, I just want to say hello. My name is Rochelle Patella. I've had the absolute pleasure of serving as knowledge director for the past 2 years, and I'm delighted to represent the nominations committee today as the current chair to share the proposed slate with you all. If you could go to the next slide, Amanda. Thank you. For those who might be new to this concept, I'll go into it a little bit more. DVS uses a slating process to select new board members on an annual cycle. The nominations committee reviews applications, conducts interviews, and recommends candidates for 6 director positions. Rather than holding an open vote for each individual role, we're going to vote on one collective group of candidates that is stacked with experienced leaders in their respective disciplines and designed to better represent the unique makeup of our membership. If you can go to the next slide, thank you. The nominations committee includes a mix of current and former board members who have a deep understanding of the responsibilities and requirements of a directorship, as well as active members within DVS who are passionate about the organization and have volunteered to contribute to the process. The nominations committee members are located across the globe, and they include a range of different backgrounds and different areas of expertise. I just wanted to say a big thank you to all who volunteered for our nominations committee for this year. Perfect, thank you. The search for candidates had started with an open application process where our DVS members self-nominated for the role. Oh, can we go back one? Thank you. Or roles that interested them most. The nominations committee reviewed all applications and selected a short list of applicants to interview for each director position. Those individuals were interviewed by 2 or more nominations committee members, including at least 1 current or former board member and an active community member. After the interviewers provided their recommendations, the nominations committee met to select the proposed candidate for each open role. In making their recommendations, the nomination committee considered, among other things, the candidate's engagement in and understanding of the data visualization community, their relevant expertise for their specific directorship, their vision and their leadership capabilities to be a board member, their resilience and their experience with conflict management, their communication skills, and their commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so these individuals together form the slate that we'll be asking our active dues paid members to vote on shortly. Next, I would love to go over the proposed slate with you all, but 2 things. First, I wanted to share that while we were tasked to recommend candidates for 6 director positions, and we did have applicants for each, the nominations committee has only decided to recommend individuals for 4 of those positions. We will ask the 2025-2026 board to identify and appoint qualified individuals to serve as early career director and the diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DE&I director, and make that their highest priority. So in not proposing a candidate for these roles, I just want to make sure that it's clear that's in no way a reflection of the importance of these domains to DVS. In fact, for as long as I have been a DVS member, our early career activities have never been better. And that's a big thanks to the leadership of the former early career director, Zane, now our partnerships director, our current early career director, Simran, and their fabulous committee. So the director who follows in their footsteps needs to be able to hit the ground running, fully armed with the skills, experience, and vision needed, plus the time to dedicate to pushing our early career activities to even greater heights. And at a time when diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are facing significant challenges, or in other cases being completely dismantled, the role of the DE&I director has never been more crucial. And it requires a really strong leader with the expertise and the determination to cultivate a DVS and a data visualization community that is inclusive and welcoming to everyone. I'm very confident that the 2025-2026 board will be more than capable of finding qualified DVS members to fill these crucial director positions. Second, I also want to say just a big thank you to all who applied and interviewed. While not everybody could be recommended for the slate, I'm confident that many of the wonderful folks we met throughout the last couple of weeks will, in time, be presented on future slates. And I look forward to casting my vote for them when that happens. And now I'm going to share just a little bit about each of our fabulous candidates, knowing that their full biographies will be available to you all following the AGM. Christopher is our proposed candidate for executive director, and Christopher is a data designer who champions accessibility and data visualization with over 15 years of experience with not-for-profit entities. As a writer, public speaker, and two-time Tableau VOTD winner, he pursues storytelling and sustainable designs in his work. Christopher envisions DVS driving public recognition for and validating the field of data visualization, akin to something like the American Bar Association, and creating larger opportunities by supporting practitioners, growing membership, and cultivating thought leadership. Sinya is our proposed candidate for communications director. She is a passionate advocate for the power of data visualization with a strong design background spanning UX, information design, and architecture. She aims to elevate DVS to become the largest global data visualization community, modernize the website to enhance user experience and accessibility, expand DVS's global reach to foster a more diverse and inclusive community, and partner with local media outlets to create content in multiple languages. Jenna is our proposed candidate for knowledge director. She is an information professional with over 10 years of experience in nonprofit settings. She holds 2 master's degrees, one in art history and another in applied data science. As a data analyst at the Nature Conservancy, she focuses on balancing art and science in data visualization. As director, Jenna aims to curate and enhance knowledge resources that recognize the needs of a wide range of individuals, as well as reconvene the knowledge committee. And then last but not least is Alex, who is our proposed candidate for membership director. She is a data-driven leader with over 10 years of experience in software as a service, or SaaS, specializing in marketing strategy, analytics, and optimization. She's passionate about fostering diverse communities, and as the current early career committee engagement lead at DVS, she has led community engagement initiatives and connected with members beginning their data visualization careers. As the membership director, she envisions creating tailored member journeys that support growth and engagement and strengthening DVS's value proposition through programs and resources that align with members' needs. And that completes our slate. So our DVS Plus or dues paid members will be voting on those candidates that are shaded in yellow here. Again, executive director, communications, knowledge, and membership. Each year, half of the DVS board seats are open for nominations, which helps us to ensure some organizational continuity rather than having a brand new board every 2 years. So education director, events director, operations director, partnerships director, programs director, and publications director will all be open for nominations later this year. In terms of next steps, the link to vote on our proposed slate will be shared over email and on Slack, or you can nab the URL there we go, the URL there. A reminder, again, only our DVS Plus members can vote, so please use the email address that is associated with your DVS membership when prompted in the ballot so we can confirm your eligibility to participate. You will only vote once, and you will choose to either accept the proposed slate or reject the proposed slate rather than to cast your vote for or against any individual candidate. Thank you so much, and I'll turn us over to Amanda to close us out and to Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rochelle. And I'm so excited for the folks who we have who are coming forward to help to continue to lead DVS. I will say that we put term limits in place in our bylaws, unlike in many spaces, that indicate that we want to see turnover on the board and see new faces, new ideas coming onto the board, sharing their vision for DVS and for the DataViz community. And I think that's a big sign of a really healthy, thriving organization and nonprofit, is to have that kind of transition. So thank you for helping to foster that, Rochelle, and help move that forward. All right, well, this brings us to our last 10 minutes, which gives me a few minutes to give a short closing address and hopefully take stock of if there's any questions in the comments that are burning and you'd like for us to address. As a reminder, you are more than welcome to go ahead and share those comments over on the Slack channel for the AGM if you look up in the channels. Simran actually very kindly asked if I would share a few words as I wrap up my tenure over the course of 6 years on the board. I served as the operations director and then later for 4 years as the executive director for the DataVis Society. And it's going to be strange coming into February not being part of this team, but I'm certainly going to be hanging around and spending time volunteering for Outliers, staying around as an advisor, and being there to support the ongoing and new board members in any way that I can to make sure DVS continues to grow as an organization. As I thought about kind of where we have come from and where we're going, part of my head was a little bit focused on some of the work Elijah and I have been doing to work on a paper around the fourth wave of data visualization. And if you're not familiar with DVS's origin story, part of us started at the Tapestry Conference in 2018, November of 2018, right after Thanksgiving, where Elijah gave a talk talking about the 3 waves of data visualization, thinking about a first wave of the current modern digital data visualization world as focusing on clarity and simplicity and clearer messages in our visualizations. A second wave focusing on systems and the ways in which we can create systems for organizing our thinking, shared language, and functional systems like libraries that allow us to share and do work together. And then last, this area around the third wave focused on convergence and bringing different tools and tech stacks together. So it's not just folks working on Tableau in one corner and Power BI in another corner, data art in one corner and data journalism in another corner, but rather bringing people together to talk about the shared things that we all have in common, the similar chart types or grappling with color or dealing with some of the ethical design challenges we face these days as we think about the ways in which data visualization gets used not only for good, but sometimes intentionally for bad. And as we think forward, Data Visualization Society was founded as a place where we wanted to recognize not just the people who build the beautiful visualizations that we recognize at the Information is Beautiful Awards. I will be the first person to say, I don't think that I am ever someone who's going to put forward work that would win an IIB award, but perhaps maybe that's a little bit of imposter syndrome. And if you're feeling that way, you should submit your work for the IIB awards anyways. But one of the things that we've done as an organization is to focus a lot on the fact that being a robust community of practitioners who build data visualizations in ways that add value in the world means recognizing that data viz isn't just the design bits and it isn't just the other small pieces that you might see. It's thinking about building community and having the leadership to guide and mentor and coach others and doing data cleaning and analysis and building great data stories where your different strengths might lie in different spaces. Our logo, our star, was founded and created as something that could be updated and driven by data as this kind of set of overlapping radar chart triangles to show the shape of our community and what it looks like. And I think as we think back on that and what that looks like and means in today's era, it creates an opportunity for us to think of the DataVis Society not just as a space where people who are experts in data visualization belong, but how we can be more inclusive and open up the DataVis Society to be a space where everyone curious about and engaging with data visualization in their world can actually be part of that community and that conversation. In our paper, and well stated actually by Elijah, I want to credit him for these words. He said, we need to foster a culture that balances technical innovation with ethical responsibility, focusing on the people behind the charts, creators and audiences alike. This idea that we can't just focus on the technical innovation and the really creative, interesting, innovative graphics and charts that we could make, but also focusing on the ways in which simple charts and graphs communicate information in different ways. And so as we think forward to this fourth wave and what the fourth wave looks like and the new democratization of data visualization as something that we engage with as creators, but also as readers and as people and as citizens in different ways, we have huge opportunities as data visualization creators to be those guides and friends and coaches who help others see the power in data visualization and become more critical consumers of data visualization and maybe one day dabble in the art and science of building their own charts and graphs. And so as we think about who we are as a community, we've often framed ourselves around these three different pillars, these areas of nurturing, celebrating, and advancing data visualization as a field. And I think that those are just as relevant today as they ever have been. But we often have also focused on this, really focusing on our community as creators, building that cross-functional tool-agnostic community for sharing ideas, amplifying and showcasing brilliance, raising awareness, working with leaders and professional standards. And these are all things we should continue to do as an organization going forward. But I also want to challenge us as a community, as an organization, to go ahead and think about how we can include those data visualization readers and people for whom data viz is maybe a little part of their work, but not their full-time job. Thinking about how we connect creators, enthusiasts, and casual readers to support each other and share knowledge. Supporting people to discover new ways to communicate information, whether complex or simple, and raising awareness about the practice of data viz and building a broad coalition of people championing the ways visualization makes information more accessible. We all are here and joining this meeting today and part of DVS because we believe in that power. And I feel really strongly that as we look forward to where the world is going to take us, that there are more opportunities than ever before to find ways that we can help use data visualization for good and build a bigger table, build a bigger tent, whichever analogy you prefer, to help to create an even broader and more inclusive community. You may have seen that we actually had in our slide from Pierre that he talked about the fact that one of the largest challenges we're facing is the challenge of data visualization literacy in the world. And I want us to think about the ways in which we can be those, again, kind of kind mentors, supports, people who help others think differently about data visualization and do it in ways that encourage others while not leaning back from having interesting, challenging conversations as a professional community and professional organization. So with that, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's joined us today, and thank you for being part of our community. Whether you joined DVS as part of the sign-up form that we had with our first 3,000 members back at the beginning of 2019, when we hit 3,000 members in a month, whether you were one of those first people on the Google form or you just stumbled into the Data Viz Society this year in 2025, we are so grateful that you're here, and we welcome your ideas and opportunities for what you would like to see us doing in the future. Our organization is built and created based on what your interests and needs are. If you do have questions, do go ahead and throw them in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on those, so feel free to look at those. But as I wait to see if there are any questions, I want to nudge you on a couple different places. One is to go ahead and get involved. You can see us on Slack, social media, become a DVS Plus member and help support our ongoing work. Think of it kind of like NPR. Your support, if you can manage to make it happen, helps all of us create more inclusive programming for everyone. Join committees, share expertise, support partnerships, and maybe even consider applying for one of our open board roles or for our open spots for our outlier director or a soon-to-be opened operations manager role that we're going to be bringing on deck. For our DVS Plus members, I encourage you to watch your inbox for the ballot for the slate later today. That email will go out specifically again to our DVS Plus members who are eligible for voting. I'm going to go ahead and bring everyone back up onto the stage. I've been watching and haven't seen any questions over here, but I do want to give everyone an opportunity to say hello and recognize our amazing board and team. I'm grateful to each and every one of you for being part of this organization and for the time that you spent today helping to go ahead and share updates about DVS as an organization. I do see one question. Have the IIB judges been selected and notified? Zane, you got an answer to that one?
We are currently reviewing judges and will hopefully be sending out emails within the next week or so about whether people have been accepted or not. We received 137 or so applications, which is over double from previous years. So we're very excited everybody wants to be involved, but it does mean that we have the opportunity to be a little bit more picky than we have been in the past.
And we want to make sure people judging have all the knowledge and skills to make great choices in terms of who those various different folks are. All right. Well, I'm so excited to have such a great team here. I have not seen any other questions coming through on the chat, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So a huge thank you and big smiles from everyone from our board members. Thank you all for being part of this team and for sharing your knowledge and expertise. I am excited to go ahead and say a close on our annual general meeting for 2024. You can watch for more updates coming from the team in your inbox, including some of our year-end wrap-up and some of the additional things we've teased during this session, like the fourth wave paper and some of the upcoming exciting things happening with Outlier, IIB Awards, and everything else. A huge round of applause to everyone for your contributions this year. Thank you to our community and our team. And we're going to go ahead and we'll sign off for our time. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing how you'll engage with the Data Visualization Society in 2025.